Good morning. Hey, this is the Conservative Cat Show. So do appreciate you being here this morning. We got a lot to get to. So smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Glad you're here. It is Friday Eve, Thursday. Good morning, Lisa. Glad you've joined us this morning. All right, Trump is wrong on this one. It's not been a great week for Donald Trump. We've got to abolish H1Bs. I am taking a firm stance on this. We've got to abolish H1Bs. You guys know where I stand on legal immigration, illegal immigration. A lot of Republicans will say, I don't care where you come from as long as you come here legally. And I say, okay, but until that person says, I don't want to just be in America, I want to be an American, I don't want them. If they're not willing to assimilate, if they're not willing to change their culture, abandon their country and their allegiance, I don't want them. Get rid of your culture. We don't want it here. We have our own. And why would you come to the United States for the culture? You don't come because the burgers are good or anything like that, the food. You come because this is a Christian nation, Judeo-Christian values, and you come because we've decided to base our morality off of the Christian Bible. And people come here for that. I don't want people who think that it's okay to get drunk and get behind the wheel of a vehicle. I don't want people over here that think that, oh yeah, it's all right to marry off children to grown men. I don't want people who throw homosexuals off of rooftops. I don't want them here. All right. And we need to abolish the H-1B visa system because it's a scam. And we need to hire Americans first. Donald Trump is wrong. He actually came out and said that we need foreign workers because there aren't enough talented Americans. Wrong. So we're going to get to that. And then we'll get to Donald Trump signing the House passed short-term continuing resolution. So that officially ended the Schumer shutdown. We're going to get to that. And Michelle Obama, she's moaning and groaning. And really, it's infuriating when I listen to Michelle Obama. And I'm not going to play the entire podcast that she was on. She was on some podcast and she talked about an experience she had on Air Force One. There was a trip that she and Barack Obama had taken. It was like a vacation to the Grand Canyon or whatever. And when she's moaning and whining and crying about this experience that she had on Air Force One, it just shows you how out of touch she still is. She's out of touch then, she's out of touch now. And it's just really obnoxious and annoying. And you're irrelevant. Go away. Stop it. So we'll get to Michelle Obama. And a little bit later, we are going to get to a Democrat senator. Throw it in the comment section if you already know what one it is, whose staffer was posing as an immigration lawyer to help free an illegal alien. Nothing to see here. No. A Democrat senator staffer is posing as a lawyer against the law to help free an illegal alien. Yeah, nothing to see here. So throw it in the comment section if you know what Democrat senator that is. I'd be curious if you've heard this news yet. All right. It's been a rough week for President Donald Trump. The 50-year mortgages. We'll do a show on that eventually. But he's out there defending H-1Bs, and I want to address this today. There was the 50-year mortgage thing, the $2,000. We already addressed the tariff thing. I'm not totally against it, and I told you that I think it's more of a tactic from Donald Trump because his tariffing power policies are being called into question by the courts. He has the tariffing power. I love the tariffs. Like I said, that's an Alexander Hamilton. He was the one who really wanted this country to generate revenue via tariffs rather than relying on the taxpayer. And I want to get back to that. And I think President Donald Trump wants to too. But a lot of people are upset because $100,000, if you make less than that, you're not going to get the $2,000. And people are upset by this. And we know what the COVID stimulus checks did to the economy. It was awful. But he had to bail out the blue states because quite literally the governments were taking people's livelihoods away. So the COVID stimulus checks, I mean, a lot of people needed those because People were living paycheck to paycheck. And then all of a sudden, you couldn't make your paycheck anymore because your state locked you down, said that you couldn't go to work. Okay, so those were definitely needed. Destroyed the economy, much like the $5 trillion under the Biden administration. In COVID relief, still in 2021, that was a couple of years after the height of the pandemic. He was still doing COVID relief plans and programs, the Biden administration. Okay, and that was to the tune of $5 trillion. For example, the enhanced ACA tax credits, the Affordable Care Act tax credits, that was under Joe Biden. Then he had all kinds of like electric vehicle rebates, the Inflation Reduction Act, the American Rescue Plan Act, all of that stuff. It was close to $5 trillion COVID relief under the Biden administration. Okay, so Donald Trump and Joe Biden provided COVID relief. Really, it's government spending, and it inflated the economy, and it was terrible. This wouldn't really inflate the economy, and the $2,000 checks from the tariffs, okay, because their revenue's already generated from the tariffs, and now he's not close enough to dish out these dollars, okay? The secretary, the Treasury Secretary, Bessent, he came out and he said, we don't have enough of the revenue to dish that out to the American people under $100,000 a year. We need about $300 billion generated in revenue in order to do that. And we only have about 195 billion generated as of right now. So we need to wait a little bit longer for the $2,000 stimmy, or I don't want to call them stimmies because it's not really stimmies. They're just paying the American people and saying, hey, sorry, we taxed the hell out of you. Now we're kind of adjusting the way we generate revenue in this country. We're going to offset it by offset that burden by some tariffs. And because we're generating money from the tariffs, we're going to give that to you. Really what he's doing, he's trying to sway public opinion about the tariffs. Really, I think he's trying to sway public opinion because it's all caught up in the courts right now, his tariffing power and whether he can do it or not. And I've got an entire show on tariffs. Go check it out. I did it a couple of days ago. He 100% has tariffing power because of national security. Okay, I'd like to see Congress pass some bills. I don't know why they haven't done that yet as far as tariffs, because really they're kind of in control of like trade policy. But as far as national security goes, in the purse, Congress generating money, I'd like to see Congress pass some bills rather than the president do all the work. But he's justified in the tariffs because of the national security reasons, like I've said. And he's got all these different acts. Congress has forfeited really a lot of their power over to the president when it comes to tariff over the last century, I would say. So President Donald Trump, rough week. People are, I'm not too upset about the $2,000 thing. One, I don't even think that it's going to happen. I think that it's more so to sway the Supreme Court, which his tariffing powers is before the Supreme Court and whether he can do it or not. So I think that it was more of a 4D chess kind of thing from President Donald Trump. So I'm not upset with him about that. I am upset about the H1B visas. I am upset about him saying that Americans aren't as talented, or there's not enough talented Americans out there. Okay. He's defending H1B visas and he's saying we need them because not all Americans can make missiles. Unpopular take here, Don. Why would we need foreigners making our missiles? Our missiles. Why would we want foreigners doing that? Take a listen to President Donald Trump. Here we go.
If you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have. You don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put
How did we ever do it before?
Well, I'll give you an example. In Georgia, they raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made
Hyundai.
batteries all their lives. You know, making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing and very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems. They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant, and going to take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way.
I see his point. I do. But at the same time, I don't. Like, I get what he's trying to say. But history tells us that we've got the skill. I mean, America put a man on a moon 20 years before we had the H1B visa system even existed. Okay, so today's episode, buckle up. We are tackling the H1B visa racket. Woohoo! I'm excited. That's right. The so-called high-skilled worker program. And I would say, and I'm just throwing a number out there, these people who are on the H1B visa program, these are not highly skilled building missile type people. These are low-level engineers, software engineers, Uber drivers. I mean, hell, we're not talking about Einsteins, okay? And it's been marketed, the H-1B visa system, as a highly skilled worker program, okay? And it's been marketed as America's innovation engine, but in reality, it is one of the biggest betrayals to the American middle class. You've heard the talking points. You heard it from President Donald Trump, and I don't know who's in his ear. We'll get to that. I've got some speculation. But he said, we don't have the talent, right? We need more talent from India. We need more talent from, Pakistan, wherever the hell these people are coming from, because America doesn't have the skills. Like I said, we've had the skills before the H-1B visa system even existed. We put the man on the moon. Okay. Spare me the nonsense that the country suddenly lost its brain power the moment we started importing cheap foreign labor. That's not true. So let's start with the propaganda. Every tech CEO, Elon Musk, sorry. I'm not a fan of Elon Musk. Never have been. It's odd that he calls himself a cultural Christian. That is one of the most dangerous, what would you call it? False teachings that the Christian community is suffering from really today. I mean, those mega churches, nothing against mega churches, but you know what I mean. Cultural Christianity, where you go to church on Sunday and it's really just a concert and some coffee, and you say you're a Christian, you wear a cross, but you're not on fire. Holy Spirit is not entering, these places. And Elon Musk has come out and said, I'm a cultural Christian, right? And, I think Christianity is good for the country, but I'm not willing to say that I believe in the Creator and Jesus Christ is my Savior, right? I think he's getting closer and closer, and I pray for his salvation. But a lot of these tech CEOs, very logical type people, and typically atheist, by the way. And they sing the same song, same sad song. We can't find enough qualified Americans. Wrong. It's a lie. They actually want the H-1B visa workers because it's slave labor. Okay. And it's really an insult to every American, young American out there, young Americans, Gen Z like me. We've studied, we've gone to school, we got buried in student loan debt. Think about the kid who got a computer science degree and he's buried in $80,000 of student loan debt. He can't find a job because these companies would rather hire a cheaper worker on a visa so they can control and enslave that visa worker. Okay. See, the H-1B visa program was never about talent. Never. These people are not Einsteins. Okay. They're not highly skilled. Building missiles. We're talking about majority of people in this program are engineers, which not to say engineers aren't highly skilled. My husband's an engineer, very skilled. But it's not it's been pitched to us as like these are like rocket scientists, the best of the best, like the top 1% of brain power, right? Like no. The people in this program, this is like engineers, software engineers, when you hire someone on H1B, you own them. Okay, this is what it's about. It's not about talent, never was. It's about control. Their legal status depends on that job. Okay, they can't negotiate, they can't complain, and they can't quit. Okay, man, if I was a tech CEO or a big corporation, man, I would love an employee who depends on that job. The legal status depends on that job. They can't negotiate really, and they can't complain. They're never going to quit. I would love that worker, and I get to pay him less because he's willing to do it for less. That's why these big corporations love it. Okay, it's legalized servitude. And they dress it all up as diversity. Now, I want you to picture something. An American worker in his 40s, okay, father of two, laid off 15 years after 15 years of loyal service at a tech company. Okay, his job gets handed to somebody who flew in from India, and they're paying him they're paying the Indian guy half of what the American worker was getting, the American dad in his 40s. That is not free market capitalism. That is a rigged system. That is globalist capitalism. And it's anti-American in every single way. So let's zoom out because this is not only about economics. This is spiritual, because a nation that replaces its own people for profit, that's not just bad policy, it's sinful. And here's what scripture has to say about it in Luke 10. A worker is worthy of his wages. Yet here we are, a nation that worships quarterly profit reports more than God. Okay, we're sacrificing American livelihoods on the altar of cheap labor and stock prices. And what's worse, we've taught an entire generation of corporate executives that loyalty is for suckers and patriotism is bad for business. That is really what's damaging here. We've got all these top executives. I don't know who is in President Donald Trump's ear on those. Probably a lot of people, CEOs, tech CEOs. Okay, but you've got all these corporate execs, and they think that patriotism and hiring Americans is somehow bad for business, or you're a sucker for being patriotic and hiring the American, even though it might eat into your profit a little bit. They don't care about community, these corporate execs. They don't care about families. They don't care about anything but margins. And the H-1B visa system is their golden goose. And folks, it's not just about India. And although a lot of the H-1B visas issues, I think it's like 60 to 80%. I'm pretty sure it's like 65%. I've got to double check my number on that. Most of these H-1B visa systems issued are going to people from India. Okay. It's mainly India. But then Donald Trump said something about Chinese students and student visas. And, it's so fascinating to me that people say, oh, Donald Trump is so right-wing. He's so extreme. He's a radical. He's kind of like a Democrat. He's very centrist on the IVF issue, on the H-1B visa issue, the student visa issue. We've got 600,000 Chinese students in our universities. China is our biggest adversary. They are quite literally seeking world dominance. They want to take over the world, and they're succeeding at it. Donald Trump knows this better than anybody because his foreign policy indicates that he understands what's going on. As far as the tariff policies, he knows what's going on with China. China has moved in a lot of these Latin American countries, Brazil, Africa. They've even moved in there, and they're coming in and they're offering infrastructure loans. In exchange, Chinese, they're moving their militaries in, they're setting up ports, they're really making them be in debt to China and control these countries. Okay. That's what China is doing in a lot of these countries, and they're taking over the world. Okay. And I'm not trying to be, racist or anything like that towards Chinese students. However, we have to acknowledge that these young, potentially Chinese aged or Chinese military aged men are in our universities, and they are our top adversary, I would say. Okay. And these Chinese students, 600,000 or so, are subsidized by you, the taxpayer. Americans, we pay for the student visa systems. And American students are told that they've got too much privilege. Okay. And they're overrepresented. And, we allow these foreign students admission and prioritize admission for those foreign students over Americans in our universities. So, I just, he's had a rough week, President Donald Trump. So he also commented on the student visas and how, we definitely need our universities. Like, the universities would be empty without the foreign students. Good. And what's so fascinating to me is that there's policy. Oh, the one big beautiful bill. It's all about blue collar workers. It's about no tax on tips. It's child care credit. Okay, so it's all about families, the American people, America first. How could you do something like that as far as your policy? And same with the tariff policy. You're strong on China and tariffing the hell out of them. Okay, so that way we have American jobs come back and we have domestic production. How can you be for all of that and then also say, well, we don't have enough talented Americans, and we can't get rid of our student visa program or limit our student visas, because the universities would be empty? Good. These are indoctrination centers. We want them empty. We want trades back. We want blue collar work back. That is what makes America hum. So I've got to talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the elephant that's asleep in the room, Republicans. Okay. Republicans, it's not just Democrats who have sold out the American worker. Chamber of Commerce, the Silicon Valley lobbyists, the think tanks, they all line up and say that we need more visas, more labor, and more innovation. And really, what they mean is we need more leverage against the American worker. That's what they mean when they say all of that. And let me be blunt. If your immigration policy drives down wages, destroys communities, displaces citizens, you are not a conservative. You are a globalist, and you have a red tie. That is it. Okay. So young conservatives, we've had enough of it. We're not falling for this old, this is the best we can do routine anymore. We're sick of hearing it. We're sick of this. Oh, at least he's not Biden. Okay, we really want real representation in the Oval, in Congress. These Republicans, people who will say no to this entire imported labor scam and say yes to rebuilding America from within. And everything contradicts, everything up to this point has contradicted what Donald Trump is saying now. So I don't know who's in his ear. But let's take you a little walk through history, if you will join me, please, on this walk through history this morning. In 1969, America put a man on a moon. No H-1B visa systems, no Indian tech pipeline, no Silicon Valley billionaires, just American engineers, American welders, and American courage. Okay, we've invented microchips, satellites, nuclear submarines, the internet. Okay, before the H-1B visa program ever existed. So when tech CEOs tell us, or Donald Trump even tell us, that we can't do it without foreign labor and that America is going to fall behind, they are lying. And what has happened, what really happened was this. in the 1990s, big tech realized that they could pad their profits by lobbying for a new labor pool. That's what happened. Okay, in the 1990s, this is when it all really began to shift in Congress. The loyal servant of the donor class. Okay, and remember, these people are donors. Look at Elon Musk, how much he contributed to President Donald Trump's campaign. Okay. Okay. So Congress in the 1990s became a very loyal servant to the donor class. And the donor class are these tech elites, the CEOs. Okay. And they gave them exactly that, a new labor pool. Okay. So they could pad their profits. And the result, over 1 million H-1B workers, many of whom are underpaid, controlled, and they've been used to replace the American worker, the Americans. Okay, that is where we're at today. Fast forward to today. This isn't immigration. Okay, this is economic colonialization, and it's happening inside of our own borders. And, I am not necessarily against, like I said, Governor J.B. Pritzker, he and Donald Trump do the same thing. I'm not necessarily against tax credits to certain sectors or certain industries. Okay. I don't really like, there are states that don't do it. I think Missouri is a state that doesn't do tax credits to try to entice people to come to the state. Okay. Governor J.B. Pritzker did it with Goshen, the electric vehicle battery maker. He's done it with electric bus companies, a lot of like startup, quantum computing startups. Governor J.B. Pritzker has a bad picker. Typically, Republicans have better pickers. Right now, I think the top pick for Donald Trump at this point is AI because he wants to beat China in it, the artificial intelligence. I'm not necessarily against that. Give the tech CEOs their tax credits. I really don't care. Okay. I'm not like totally for it, but I'm not totally against it as long as your picker's good. Governor J.B. Pritzker, take the tax credits away from him because he's just giving it to his buddies and to foreign powers. Goshen has CCP ties. Okay. So take that tax credit giving power away from Governor J.B. Pritzker because he's proven that he's not good at it. Donald Trump, what he's doing with the AI data centers, things like that, he's trying to do tax credits to all these various tech CEOs who are, working on AI because he wants to beat China at it and he wants to have AI be America's baby. Okay, so not necessarily against that, so why on top of the tax credits to these CEOs do we have to also give them slave labor through the H-1B visa program? Okay, we're already giving them breaks. Okay, they don't tax credits. They don't have to pay as many taxes. Okay, as everybody else. Why give them the gift of foreign labor and slave labor to help their profits when we already kind of help them enough with the tax credits? I just don't get it. Okay, so I recently heard of, and this was on social media, a software engineer in Texas. Okay, American-born, college-educated software engineer, and he was actually a veteran. Okay, and he applied to over 100 jobs in his field, and he kept getting turned down. And then finally, a recruiter told him that, hey, off the record, they're kind of only taking H-1B visa applicants because it keeps the costs down. Okay. You want to talk about betrayal? That's betrayal. Okay. There was another case, a mother, from Ohio, whose son, got a computer science degree, applied to a dozen, major firms and got ghosted every single time. The positions, though, were filled not by talented Americans, but by cheaper foreign labor under visa restrictions that prevent, that prevent competition. So they the positions are filled with really indentured servants. Okay. This is not equity. This is exploitation of both the foreign worker and the American worker. It's slavery repackaged in the 21st century. Okay. So, real quick, I'm going to take a quick break. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends, subscribe to the channel. I'll be right back. Hey, go ahead and smash that like button, share this out with your friends before we take the break. I was telling you a little bit about how this is repackaged slavery. Okay. It's slavery repackaged for the 21st century. That is what the H1 visa system is. Washington, D.C., they're going to lecture you about diversity, equity. There's nothing equitable about exploitation of the foreign worker and the American worker. So I also want to talk about, it's not a good week for President Donald Trump. The $2,000 thing, I'm not upset about. Like I said, I don't even think that it's going to happen. I think that it's like a 4D chess thing from President Donald Trump. He's trying to sway public opinion, and the courts are tasked with deciding his tariff powers and if he's got the power to craft tariff policy, which he does. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. Sorry, I took the break, but there's also something else that Donald Trump has come out with this week. This is the 50-year mortgages. Okay, so Donald Trump told Fox News, Laura Ingraham, that all it means is that you pay less per month than you paid over a longer period of time. Okay, really what this is a big old gift to the banks. Okay, longer period of times means more interest in the banks. This is like a big old gift to the banks. And I don't know about you, but I don't think the tech CEOs with the H-1B visa system I don't think that they need to be any richer. The tech CEOs, they've already got insane tax credits to do what they've got to do. And, we've given them gifts with big red bows in the form of tax credits. Don't know why we need to import a new labor pool for them as well. The 50-year mortgages, the last people I think that need more money in their pocket are the big are banks. Okay. So the 50-year mortgage thing, not popular with young conservatives, and young conservatives are waking up. They're seeing student debt bubble. They're seeing this 50-year mortgage scam. Okay, that's really what it is. And then they're seeing a flood of H-1B visas and imported students too, even if you can get into college, because a lot of times admissions prioritizes these Chinese nationals, the 600,000 that are currently in the United States right now. Biggest adversary is China. Sorry, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. But they are realizing that it's not just the liberals who are crazy. It's the so-called conservative Republicans that are crazy as well, and that Republicans aren't conservative enough. Okay. It's not so much liberals are crazy, but the conservatives are not being conservative enough. Okay. And this is what's so fascinating about President Donald Trump being called radical or an extremist. He is not conservative enough, and he never really has been. That's why I'm not too upset with President Donald Trump, because this is kind of like who Donald Trump is. It is a little bit out of character considering his other policy, like the tariff policy, China. He's being tough on China trying to get domestic production here, which is very America first. But yet he says that, our universities would be empty without foreign students. Like, What? So, if your platform is not defending American labor, protecting family formation, and ending the H-1B racket, you are not conservative enough. Okay, if that is your platform, if you aren't defending American labor, if you aren't protecting family formation, and if you aren't ending the H-1B visa racket, you are not conservative enough. And there is this whole wave of young conservatives my age, Gen Z, and you might sound America first, and you might be unapologetically, economically, nationalist, spiritually grounded, and you might be all of these things. But if you don't say, hey, we have to abolish the H-1B visa program, I'm sorry, but young conservatives are not going to back you, because we know how bad that H-1B visa system is. Why? Because we're the ones graduating, and we're the ones trying to enter that job pool. All right, so let's make this plain. The moral case against H-1B visas, because this is not just about economics. God created nations. Nations have borders. Okay, nations have people, not interchangeable economic units. Okay, when you replace citizens with foreigners for profit, you're spitting in the face of God's design. Okay, nations have people, and we should treat people like people. Okay, not like economic units. And that's what these tech CEOs are doing. They're treating these people like they're not people, and that they're just numbers, and it's all for their bottom line. Okay, and you are spitting in the face of God's design. He created nations, and those nations have people. These are real people. We're told to love our neighbor. But how can you love your neighbor when you've replaced him at his job and priced him out of his home, and left his kids without a future? I mean, the family formation. How are you going to be financially free if you are tied to a 50-year mortgage, and the banks are profiting off of you for 50 and are making money off of you for 50 years? Okay, that is not financial freedom. That is not pro-family. And, you're really leaving your kids without a future if you buy into this 50-year mortgage scam. Say you, what is it? You'll leave your kids with a mortgage. You won't ever pay off your house, leave it as an inheritance to your children. Say you get your house at the age of 30, right? 50 years, that's 80. Most people don't make it to, I think the average age, 70s, 80s, mid 80s. Like you might not even have your mortgage paid off by the time you die. Right. And like, you're not leaving your kids with anything. That's unbiblical. Okay. You should want to leave children something and pay off the house, and, leave your kids with a future. And all of these, everything that he's been saying this past week, the 50-year mortgages, the H-1B visa systems. I mean, none of this is biblical or morally right. Okay. So here's the Christian conservative position. We invest in our own youth. We give our youth the jobs. We don't do the student visas, not nearly to the tune of what we're doing them now, 600,000 Chinese nationals in our universities. We invest in our own youth. We hire our youth out of college. We train them up, we equip them, and we inspire them. If we can send billions, sending aid to Ukraine, we can spend a fraction of that, working on American apprenticeships. Who cares if the universities are empty? Maybe we should try to work on our tech schools, our apprenticeship, our trade schools, our vocational schools. Okay, maybe we should start investing in that. If we can spend billions on Ukraine, we could probably shift, I mean, the culture here in America, and kind of make it a one big beautiful bill culture, where I thought it was going to be, hey, pro blue collar worker, pro people who make things with their hands, honest work. And we've got to stop importing talent. And we really should start cultivating it. And the way we do that would be investing in apprenticeships and trade schools, vocational schools, tech schools, and train up this talent. So say we don't have the talent here. Well, let's start cultivating it, Don. Okay, you say we don't have the talent. Let's start cultivating it. If we're spending billions on foreign aid, Ukraine, Israel, okay, then let's shift that spending, spend it on something that will cultivate that talent, so we don't have to import it. Okay, so let me say this loud and clear. America does not need more H-1B visas. America needs more Americans in American jobs. Okay, so we don't need politicians who are, managing really this decline of America. That is what they're doing. They're just managing the decline of America, and they're giving big old gifts with big red bows to their tech CEO friends and to the banks. We need warriors in this country who are going to rebuild this country from the ground up. And I thought with the one big beautiful bill passing, I was like, okay, we are on the trajectory here. From our schools to our factories to our faith, we need to build it up. And abandon this universities if it's just turning into, foreign students coming here, getting their software engineering job or their computer science degrees and then getting an H-1B visa job. I'm done with universities. Maybe we should invest in different types of schools. All right. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. I do want to shift gears. Let's talk about President Donald Trump signing the continuing resolution. This is a short-term spending bill, officially known as the Continuing Appropriations, Agriculture, Legislative Branch, Military Construction, and Veterans Affairs and Extension Act 2026. So they signed that, or President Donald Trump signed this last night. And this is going to fund the federal government through January 2026, and this officially ends the Schumer shutdown. Celebration time, come on. Okay, so the House passed it. It was in the Senate. There was this negotiation that happened. I think it was 8 Democrats voted for it to get it out of the Senate. And a part of those negotiations, hey, we're going to change the CR a little bit. We're going to do more appropriations for the vets. We're going to do more appropriations for agriculture and for the legislative branch. So there were some changes there. And then that went to the House because it changed. So the House already passed it, went to the Senate. It was stalled in the Senate. 8 Democrats broke the shutdown, including Dick Durbin. Shocking. He's on his way out, so he had nothing really to lose. Most likely it was a way of him getting on some sort of board somewhere. But anyway, so they voted for it. And as part of the vote, in exchange, there was promises to visit the Affordable Care Act, enhanced tax credits, okay, and bring that up to a vote. I don't know if Mike Johnson actually will. We'll have to see. But the House passed it. Now the House, there was a pretty healthy sized group from the other side of the aisle, Democrats, including Jared Golden. He actually was the sole Democrat to vote for the original CR, okay, before it got stalled in the Senate for 40 days, which was the longest in history government shutdown. Not by a lot. I think the longest in history is 35 days prior to that. But it's official. A handful of Senate Democrats finally did their part on Monday. And then the House of Representatives voted to end the Schumer shutdown and reopen the government on Wednesday night, last night, in a 222 to 209 vote, with 6 Democrats voting in favor, along with a GOP majority. Now, there were 2 Republicans who voted against it, and a lot of the Democrats did vote against it. So the House passed the sweeping spending package to reopen the government, setting the stage to end this shutdown, the longest in history. And really, I think what went on here was they were waiting, these 8 Democrats that were in the Senate, they ultimately voted for it in the end. But they were waiting till the end of the off-year elections. They wanted the shutdown to affect those elections, and I think that they were kind of successful in that. But the battle is over, and the vote took place in the lower chamber. 2 Republicans, I said that, opposed the measure. They protested the spending, okay, while 6 Democrats, hopped the aisle to support it, citing the importance of getting the federal government open. Okay, so here is the president signing the bill. I want to share that with you, and there's a few clips from the signing that I'm going to get to. But a little bit later, you're going to want to stick around because we're going to get to Michelle Obama, and what she had to say on a podcast about something on Air Force One and some clothes that she wore, and she just sounds really out of touch. But we'll get to Michelle in just a little bit. For now, take a listen. This is Donald Trump signing the bill to reopen the...
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Now, I'm going to share with you some comments from President Donald Trump. He actually took the opportunity to make some remarks about what this means for the American people ending the shutdown. Take a listen. Here we go.
With my signature, the federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America affordable again for all Americans. With my signature.
Okay, that's what that means. We're making America affordable again. The CR. Yes, the 1.5, what was it, $1 trillion in healthcare, 1 billion, I don't know. There was a ton of money for healthcare for illegal immigrants that did not make it into this bill. So we're making it more affordable. You had a couple of Republicans who were still upset about the spending. Now, he did continue here to rebuke the Democrats essentially for their extortion. And like I said, I think that it was to get them past the elections. There were some off-year elections that happened in Virginia, New York, obviously Zohran Mamdani. You had the California Prop 50 election, New Jersey. And here's what I think ultimately happened. The Democrats were holding out until those were over. And it was really just extortion. And extortion they inflicted on this country during the Schumer shutdown. They wanted to sway the elections. Really, it's election interference by keeping the government shut down. Virginia, there's a lot of public sector workers. The AG got in, the Democrat AG, Jay Jones, who said that or fantasized about killing his Republican counterpart and his wife holding the dead children, or very weird, sick man. Jay Jones, he got in. Which I don't think would have been possible without the government shutdown, where people are upset. Public sector workers were really upset, and they associated this shutdown with the current administration, Donald Trump, and they just voted against Republicans in the election. The Virginia governor, now a Democrat, Abigail Spanberger. So I think that their goal was to keep this going until the off-year elections were over. But here's President Donald Trump talking about the extortion and what the Democrats did here during the Schumer shutdown and how it was wrong. Take a listen. Here we go.
For the past 43 days, Democrats in Congress shut down the government of the United States in an attempt to extort American taxpayers for hundreds of billions of dollars for illegal aliens and people that came into our country illegally, from gangs, from prisons, from mental institutions. They wanted to pay them $1.5 trillion, which would have really hurt our healthcare businesses and our recipients at levels never seen before. Today, we're sending a clear message that we will never give in to extortion, because that's what it was. They tried to extort. The Democrats tried to extort our country. In just a moment, I'll sign a bill exactly like we asked Democrats to send us all along many days ago. This cost the country $1.5 trillion, this little excursion that they took us on. Republicans never wanted a shutdown and voted 15 times for a clean continuation of funding. There's never been a time when one or the other party ever didn't sign a continuation. It's just a continuation, not a big deal. It's a continuation, and we'll talk later. Yet the extremists in the other party insisted on creating the longest government shutdown in American history, and they did it purely for political reasons.
They did it for purely political reasons, and the political reason was to get them over the finish line in these off-year elections, and that's my take. One more, he added more here in the signing, the conference, and he talked about the pain Americans felt during the shutdown. Now, you and I, maybe not so much, public sector workers, people who receive like SNAP benefits, government welfare. A lot of people do receive SNAP, and hey, my parents did, right? But it's a temporary program. You guys know how I feel about SNAP. Abused, misused, and those people were affected. Okay, you and I, we woke up in the morning, we went to work, we made the coffee, heard the birds chirping, same day, every single day. And really, a lot of people might not have even noticed that the government was shut down unless you were traveling, because there was, at that point, 40 days, it's the longest government shutdown. It started to affect our air traffic controllers, and they weren't showing up for work because they weren't getting paid, right? So our nation's airports, government workers weren't getting paychecks. People who were actually in need of SNAP weren't getting SNAP, which was bad. You need that to, feed families. And I'm not totally opposed to SNAP program, but I'm getting there. I'm more and more, the more abuse I see and the misuse I see in the SNAP program, the more and more I'm just thinking to myself, we ought to get rid of this. WIC is actually run better. And I think that there's a way we could run SNAP better, but we're never going to get Democrats to agree that SNAP, hey, shouldn't fund things like POP, right? And if we can't agree on that, then I don't know what the hell we're doing, right, with this program. We should all agree that SNAP is a supplemental nutritional assistance program. It shouldn't be your entire grocery budget, which is kind of turned into, what is it, hundreds of billions of dollars, or $110 billion a year goes out for SNAP bennies. The taxpayers pay that. And we can't even get Democrats to agree that, hey, SNAP shouldn't fund things like your soda pop. Okay. But anyway, so Donald Trump, he talked about the pain that some Americans felt. Not all Americans. You and I probably didn't feel it as much, or didn't even really notice the government was shut down. Because believe it or not, your interaction with the government, think about it, very minimal. On a day, most people on a day-to-day basis, you're not interacting with the government. Most of the time, they force you to interact with them in order to stay in business. Okay, by crafting, for example, the DMV, they craft laws and force you to pay things like registration fees, and you have to go in and renew your registration. Other than that, your interactions with government are very minimal. So let's take a listen. This is another clip that I pulled. Donald Trump talking about the pain that some Americans had felt during the longest shutdown ever.
Over the past 7 weeks, the Democrats' shutdown has inflicted massive harm. They caused 20,000 flights to be canceled or delayed. They departed so many times, so late. People were hurt so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything like this one. This was a no-brainer. This was an easy extension. But they didn't want to do it the easy way. They had to do it the hard way. And they look very bad, the Democrats do. They deprived more than 1 million government workers from their paychecks and cut off food stamp benefits for millions and millions more Americans in need. They caused tens of thousands of federal contractors and small businesses to go unpaid. And the total effect of the damage their antics caused will take weeks and probably months to really calculate accurately, including the serious harm that they did to our economy and to people and to families. So I just want to tell the American people, you should not forget this. When we come up to midterms and other things, don't forget what they've done to our country. I also want to call for a termination to the filibuster so that this can never happen again.
Love it. Yeah. Terminate the filibuster. I'd be all right with that. And he's right. People were hurting by it. Maybe not you and I so much, your average American. But if you were traveling, and I mean, he's right. There's the economic toll. It's going to take months to calculate. People who lost or had their flights delayed, couldn't get to work. I mean, it was awful, and it was purely political. I think definitely it was over the elections, the off-year elections. They wanted to win those, and they used the government shutdown to really extort the American people. So I want to shift gears. Let's talk about Michelle Obama. I'm really excited for this story. Michael Obama. Sorry. Michelle Obama. Sorry, I got a little cold. Michael. Now, before I jump into the ridiculousness that this story is, it's only fair that I tell you about my feelings about Michelle up front. I have strong feelings about the former First Lady, Michelle Obama. To sum it up, my feelings are that she is a whiner. She is self-entitled. She's a multimillionaire, probably the only multimillionaire on the planet who's famous because of her spouse's former job. Okay, that is who she is. She's only famous because of her her spouse's job, not former spouse. Although there were whispers that they were going to get a divorce, but she's only famous because of her spouse, Barack Obama, and his job. Okay, and she's multimillionaire, self-entitled, whiny. So what you're about to hear, this story, is a perfect example as to why I have such strong feelings about Michelle Obama. I hate women who have this poor me attitude, this poor, pitiful attitude. I can't stand. There's nothing more annoying than, especially, somebody of her wealth and, blessings. I mean, she has this pitiful attitude, and there's nothing more annoying than a woman complaining, and complaining for no reason. So the longer you listen to my story here about Michelle, the more ridiculous it's going to get, and the more you're going to see that, hey, yeah, Kat has some pretty strong feelings about former First Lady Michelle Obama, and for good reason. Okay, so I encourage you to listen to this story in its entirety, so that way you get the full effect. So Miss Obama, allegedly Miss Obama, whined about an experience that she had to endure while traveling on Air Force One. Okay, the experience she was forced to endure. She was aboard Air Force One. Her and her hubby, Barack Berry, he was in his first term, and they were going on vacation. So buckle your seatbelts, gang. Get ready to be infuriated, because in this podcast, the former First Lady says that she was just forced to endure this experience, and she was subjected to this experience, and it was just so, awful and terrible and painful. Okay, so our story begins with Michelle on this podcast. Okay, now I think she does this podcast pretty regularly. It's with her brother, Craig Robinson. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't listen all that much. Okay, I am not really into Craig Robinson and Michelle Obama's podcast, but she's on there pretty regularly. And this, apparently, it sounded like it was one of the greatest crises that she's ever had to endure in her life. She had to wear Bermuda shorts. These are pretty short shorts. You guys can Google them. Bermuda shorts. They're like a type of shorts that's like above the knee. So Bermuda shorts. They're kind of like, I wouldn't say super short, but they're shorts. And she wore them instead of like a dress or something. And she was boarding Air Force One for a vacation trip that they were taking to Arizona. Barack had planned a hike in the Grand Canyon. Okay. This was in 2009, by the way. First term, Barry, 19 years ago. Okay. So let's dig into the podcast. And I'm not going to play the clip. I'm just going to read you some of her quotes from the podcast. Quote, "The fact that we women had to spend time thinking about that kind of stuff in ways that my husband didn't, it really was infuriating." That's what she said about the decision to wear the Bermuda shorts, and that Barry didn't have to make the decision of wearing Bermuda shorts or a dress. She had to make that decision. And then she talked about then a negative article still happened. Okay. I'll get to that here in just a second. She did face some, a couple of magazine headlines that blasted her for wearing shorts over a dress. Okay. But largely Michelle and Barack are, drooled over by the press and the media. There were a few tabloids or magazines that had suggested that the shorts weren't a good choice. Anyway, so Michelle, she went on to explain that in August of 2009, she and Barack were set to depart Air Force One. So they were on Air Force One. They were going to depart to their first vacation since the inauguration. And I guess she was traumatized or was all up in her head about what she was going to wear, like what attire she would be appropriate for the first lady in boarding Air Force One and going on this vacation. Okay. And she didn't want to draw public criticism for her attire. Okay. And she was really annoyed, I guess, that her husband, being a man, didn't have to worry about what kind of outfit he was going to wear on the plane. Okay. Again, this is 19 years after this all happened. She's on a podcast whining about it. Okay. Millions of dollars. She's got millions in the bank. She's, admired by liberal white women everywhere, and affluent feminist liberals. Liberal women. And she's talking about something that none of us would have any recollection of. I don't know if I'm 26 years old. I really wasn't, obviously I was too young during the Obama years to really understand everything that's gone on or went on. But I have no recollection of this. You probably have no recollection of this. So she continued. She goes, "It was 100 degrees. Brock was like, I said, 'Hey, Brock, what are you wearing? Okay, what are you going to be wearing?' And he said, 'I'm going to throw on some sneakers. I'm going to take my jacket off and roll up my sleeves.'" Okay, and that's what men can do. White shirt, no collar, no tie, and that's how he changed. He just rolled up his his sleeves and put on some sneakers, and it was his vacation outfit. Okay. Oh, the humanity. How dare Brock, not have to do like an entire, wardrobe. He can just kind of change up what he's currently wearing to make it more vacation friendly. I mean, she whined, she cried, about this, but it gets more hilarious. So stay with me. She said, I can't wear hiking shorts there. And I can't wear a dress to hike. That would be crazy. People would call me disconnected. Who goes to the Grand Canyon in a T-length dress with some flats on? Okay. They'd call me un-American. And I was like, that's not how people go to the Grand Canyon. So I eventually opted for something that felt mostly me. And this is how shallow Democrats are. They think that they are their outward appearance. In the state of Illinois, I've brought this up a couple of times. This is really weird. It's like DCFS. It was a group of kids, really. There was a board, and it's a sub board or subcommittee, really, of like DCFS, and they came up with this legislation, lobbied our legislators to do it. But it's like hair care for people in the DCFS system. And let me look this up. It's a hair care plan, okay, for youth in the foster care system. And there was a group of kids, and this happened in 2024. I think it was 2024 law. And really what it does is it mandates foster parents to create a hair care plan with their DCFS caseworkers, and then the foster care parents have to pay for that, i.e. the taxpayers will have to pay for the hair care plan. Okay. And this was pitched as like, hey, this is going to boost children's self-esteem. And I will never forget it. I think the sponsor and supporters of the bill, I forget her name. This was a year ago. But she said, the kids' hair is their strength. These people are very shallow. What are we teaching our children, our youth, in this DCFS system? That they can get a $200 hair care plan. Like, I wanted orange hair when I was growing up. Okay. But my dad said, no, that's stupid. You're not doing that. Okay. Or we can't afford it. Right. But in DCFS, the taxpayers are on the hook for a hair care plan, whether that's like dreads, beads, orange hair, eyebrow plucking. Like the extent of this hair care plan probably knows no bounds. And you come up with a number, and the taxpayers pay for it through the foster care parents. And like every single time I hear Democrats leftists talk about, it just feels me. It's my self-esteem. I think about that moment when I was watching this all unfold, where the supporters of that bill said, well, the kids' hair is their strength. No, the Lord is their strength. Anyway, let's get back to Michelle. Sorry, I wanted to go down that little rabbit hole. I think that the left, they are so obsessed with outward appearance. You know what my mom always taught me? Care more about what's in your head rather than what's on it. Okay, I was always wanting the crazy hairstyles, and eventually my mom said, "Nope, you got to care more about what's in your head rather than what's on it." And it stuck with me. They're very superficial, care about their outward appearance. Let's get back to Michelle Obama. So she says, quote, I eventually opted for something that felt mostly like me. It was the Bermuda shorts. Because we're going on a hike, and that's what a normal person would wear on a hike. If you find yourself, what would a normal person be doing? If you find yourself uttering that phrase, you're likely not normal, and you are very out of touch with reality. And this is a bit of obsessive, if you ask me. She's sitting here contemplating whether she should wear a dress or Bermuda shorts. And this is the biggest thing. And it infuriated her that her husband didn't have to make this decision. Bizarre. So the former first lady, to give her some credit here, she did face some backlash. Okay. Pundits at the time, it was a few tabloids, a few conservative pundits who made fun of her for wearing some shorts. Okay. Yeah, like, grow up. Okay. She was departing on Air Force One, and she was too casual, is what, some of these tabloids or conservative pundits had said at the time. Who wears short shorts? Michelle Obama was some of the headlines, or headline at the time: the first lady's shorts draw some long, hard looks. Michelle Obama, the shorts heard around the world. Okay, so 2 points here. One, the media, the liberal media, they, for years, as long as I have been alive, okay, they have fawned, slobbered, salivated over the Obamas. Okay, Michelle, she had a few tabloids, a couple of magazines that were critical of her attire. Okay, but for the most part, Michelle, she's constantly on magazine covers, and she's like glowed up, and like the media fawns over her. So it's just absurd that she maintains this woe is me attitude, this pity poor attitude, where she's like, poor me, poor me. And it just makes it so clear that she does not give a damn about everyday people, tens of millions of ordinary Americans. We talked a lot about the ACA tax credits yesterday, the Affordable Care Act, and how that has ballooned healthcare costs, similar to the Inflation Reduction Act. You've got Joe Biden dumping $5 trillion in COVID relief programs, and you're spending. That's causing inflation. Okay, there's tons of money. So, for example, the Inflation Reduction Act, there was this EV tax credit. I think it gave Americans like $4,000 to go spend on an electric vehicle. Well, what did the companies do? Ford. They raised the cost of their electric vehicles by, drumroll please, $4,000. So, yeah, that's how the ACA tax credits, they dumped all kinds of money into this, $100 billion a year or something like that they pay towards these enhanced credits that were meant to be temporary during the COVID pandemic. But what her husband did has caused millions, tens of millions of Americans. I think it's like 20 million Americans who have these ACA 20 million Americans who utilize the ACA tax credits. The enhanced tax credits are for people of upper middle class. So it's not just a poverty thing. People use these tax credits towards their healthcare costs. And what they've done is really, it's just a big old gift to the insurers and to the hospitals. And her husband has destroyed healthcare in this country with his policies, with the policies that came about, specifically the ACA tax credits. So she's very out of touch. This seems like her biggest concern. Your concern isn't that your husband destroyed healthcare and has ballooned healthcare costs by an exorbitant amount because he's flooded the system with all kinds of government subsidies. So Fox News, they, had a story, and they talked about, the former first lady did face backlash for those shorts. Melania, she never catches a break in the media. They are not fawned over. Donald Trump and Melania are not fawned over nearly to the extent that, Brock and Michelle are. But Melania, I've never heard her complain. She always appears classy, gracious. They rip her apart in the magazines. But yet I hear Michelle whine about it. End of story. I don't care for Michelle Obama. I have strong feelings about her. I don't like a whiny woman. I I really can't stand it, especially when you got nothing to whine about. Okay. If anybody should be whining, it's Melania, because she's just eviscerated in the tabloids and magazines, and she's attacked constantly, but yet she's gracious and classy. Anyway, so I want to shift gears. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. I am going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about a senator, an Illinois Democrat, and throw it in there. Who you think which one it is. There's only two to pick from. But there is a senator whose staffer impersonated as an immigration attorney, and in a brazen effort tried to free an illegal alien from deportation. So who is it? Throw it in the comment section. I'll be right back. Smash that like button. Hey, you're listening to the Conservative Cat Clips. This is the place where we don't call 911 first. Nope, we pray, we prepare, and yes, we pack heat. Every time there's a tragedy, the media and the Democrats, they start crying, do something, and do something. And what they mean is more laws, more bans, and more restrictions, not on criminals, mind you, but on law-abiding citizens. So let me tell you what evil doesn't care about. They don't care about legislation. The man willing to break the sixth commandment, thou shalt not murder, doesn't blink twice at your AR-15 ban. Okay, he doesn't read your gun-free zone signs. He sees those signs and he says, this is an invitation for me. Gun control doesn't stop evil. It disarms good people. The founding fathers didn't give us the Second Amendment so we could go hunting. They gave us the Second Amendment to protect ourselves against tyrants, both foreign and domestic. And newsflash, tyrants don't tend to announce themselves. They come wearing smiles and waving around fancy policies. And I also want to talk about self-defense today. Self-defense. The average police response time in big cities like Chicago could be up to 10 minutes, sometimes even longer. I know the Chicago PD is really struggling with that. Response times in rural areas, it could get up to even 30 minutes response time. So if somebody kicks down your door, are you going to ask them to wait until the government sends backup to protect you, or are you going to protect your family and take matters into your own hands? So grandma, in Peoria, Illinois, she is just trying to defend her property, but yet she's the one treated like a criminal. She has to go through all kinds of crazy background checks, permits, training. And the thug in Chicago, he gets the gun out of his trunk in an alley, and he didn't think twice about our laws, okay? It's about power. It always has been. Every dictatorship in history has disarmed their citizens first. First, that's Stalin, that's Hitler, that's Mao. They didn't want competition. And once the guns were gone, so were the rights, the freedom, and the people. So a disarmed people is a controlled people. But an armed, faithful, and free people, that is a nightmare for tyrants. And really, it's a blessing to your neighbors if you are armed. The Second Amendment isn't outdated. It's eternal. And just like evil, just like our right, just like the evil has the right to do evil things, and that they will, we have the right to resist evil and to arm ourselves. And the Second Amendment is pretty dang clear, shall not be infringed. This has been Conservative Cat Clips. Hey, smash that like button, share this out with your friends, subscribe to the channel. That is the biggest way you can support the program. Barry James, love the sticker. Thank you. You guys can also support the program's sticker super chats. We are going to be launching something at the first of the year. and I'm very excited to announce it. The Conservative Cat Show, there are big things coming, and it's all because you guys support the program through patriotpumpenergy.com. Get your bottle of premium pre-workout today. This is our fruit punch flavor. Very good stuff. 2,500 milligrams of creatine, 150 milligrams of caffeine. I know a lot of people think, the supplement industry, scammy. No, pharmaceuticals, this is a great alternative to pharmaceuticals. I think any supplement, once you find your supplements and you get on a routine with your supplements, I think that it is a great alternative to pharmaceuticals and medication. Find out what your body is needing, what you're not getting in your diet, and supplement. Right? I'm all about it. We are trying not to get you addicted to our product through exorbitant amount of caffeine and sugar, artificial dyes, anything like that. We don't want to get you addicted to the product. We just want you to have this long-lasting energy that you feel like you got to have. And we want to prevent, you grabbing an energy drink that is full of exorbitant amounts of caffeine, which is not good for you. It affects your sleep. Sleep affects your weight gain, all kinds of things. And sugar, we're trying to get you to not grab the energy drink that has sugar and caffeine in it. Crazy amounts of caffeine. This is a little bit of caffeine. It's a great way to fuel your workouts too. You've got that creatine in there, bulks you out a little bit, not in a bad way, but like refines your muscles. That's just what creatine does. So I highly recommend the product. Love it. Promo code Conservative Cat at checkout. Let's get to the U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth. Yes. Appreciate you being here, CB. Good morning, Conservative Michael. Yeah. And, she's a very tall woman. It's really hard for tall women to rock Bermuda shorts. Usually tall women, if you've got like these nice long legs, maybe something a little shorter than Bermuda shorts would work. But you can't go that casual when you're the first lady. So she should have opted for a dress, changed on the plane, right? I don't know. That's my hot take. Changed on the plane, or just worn the shorts and just been done with it, and not resent her husband for not having to, decide between a dress and shorts. Truly bizarre. I just don't understand. These people really have got no problems in life. When you're sitting there struggling about thinking about what to wear on vacation, and you're boarding Air Force One. I think most foster parents would research the needs of their kids. For example, some people have skin that is more susceptible to scarring, if I remember correctly, and require special treatment. So earlier in the show, I talked about like this superficial, the Democrats being very superficial and very outwardly appearance. And I talked about a bill that was in 2024. It's like this hair care plan. Most foster parents, they're not going to, not take care of their children's hair. Okay. And these are the people who are actually taking care of these children. DCFS doesn't care about the kids, right? I mean, there's missing children. I've done a story on that. You guys can go find it. It's archived in the show about missing children potentially, where DCFS can't account for them. The documents, they're not providing the documents surrounding the missing children. Kids who can't be accounted for under their care, run away, go missing. We need to know how many kids that is. And DCFS couldn't provide the documentation to give that number. I think it was like an estimated 165 was a number that was thrown out there. Missing children in a year. So yeah, I applaud our foster parents. And like the thing of it is that they're not given the autonomy and like really the ability to raise these children that are in their care temporarily. Okay. My mom's a foster mom. And I've seen it firsthand, right? They think that foster parents are incapable, and they do these like bills all the time that kind of put parameters and regulations on foster parents, and it's like, why are we regulating foster parents to an extent? To this extent, we want people to be foster parents, no? So yeah, the hair care plans are just ridiculous to me, because it's like a foster parent is going to provide hair care to the children. Okay, like they will. You don't need to mandate it, and you don't need to come up with a hair care plan with the DCFS caseworker. Okay. And you know, what bothers me most is that the taxpayers are going to be funding it. Hair care is expensive. Okay. And if you come up with a whole plan and cave into what the child wants, you know, and have the child be at the helm of the decision making here on their hair care plan, which is what this bill, you know, instructs these foster care parents and these DCFS caseworkers should do, is work with the child on their hair care plan. Whatever makes them feel most comfortable, or like their strength, their hair is their strength. I'm totally against that, because it's going to get costly fast, because guess what? Kids wants to do crazy things with their hair. Okay. Yeah, but I love what you say here, JS, that, hey, let the foster parents decide what's best for the kids. Skincare, and it's going to look different for all kids. You know, I understand that Black children in the foster care system are going to have maybe a higher demand or higher standard of hair care. And maybe it takes a little bit more to care for the hair, and it's going to be a little bit more expensive. But like, what are we doing mandating things? Like, the foster care parents are going to take care of the children. Okay. And if they're not, then they've got to be taken out and placed with somebody else. Okay. And that's what the DCFS caseworker is there for. Provide the foster care parent what they need. And let's not mandate, you know, hair care plans. Like, I think that the kids need perhaps maybe an academic plan, you know, or a something that, you know, is not so outwardly superficial. That's where my problem with the bill was. It was just like, why are we caring about what the kids' outwardly appearance? Okay. Hair is hair. It's kind of like the clothes you wear. Okay. Let's care more about the kids and their arithmetic skills, their advance or their development, their milestones. Let's care more about that and what's in their head rather than what's on it. Because we're teaching these children in the foster care system that they should prioritize their outwardly appearance rather than what's inside. Brain, morality, civic virtue, things like that. Like, we should be teaching the kids. So let's come up with like an academic plan rather than a hair care plan. Okay. Big Mike. Yes. Okay. Edward York. Somebody guessed it. Tammy Duckworth. Yes. Edward York. I'm glad that you guys got this headline already. But Senator Tammy Duckworth, that's where we're going today. DHS, Department of Homeland Security, announced yesterday that a staffer from Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth's office impersonated an immigration attorney. And in a brazen effort, so this impersonating attorney, in a very brazen effort, tried to free an illegal alien who was not only been deported to Mexico 4 times, but has been convicted of drunk driving. So has constantly been deported, continues to border jump, and continues to break laws outside of illegally entering the country, such as drinking and driving. I've told you before multiple times, these people who come into the country, they don't see a problem. If you've ever been, and I've got plenty of Mexican friends, love the Mexican people. But one thing that you have to understand about Mexican culture, they drink. Okay, more so than Americans. Okay, in America, there's, and because it's derived from Christian Bible, and because it's been just years and years of cultural standards, we have had just a precedent here in this country that drinking, drunkenness, especially getting behind the wheel in drinking and driving, not the best. I worked in restaurants most of my young adult life in college. Worked with a lot of Mexican men. Okay. All of them had DUIs. And then you start to think, okay, there's a pattern here. What is it? It's just simply that in Mexico, they drink a lot and they drink more than Americans, I think. And it's a cultural thing. And, you've got Mexican people, illegals who don't quite understand or grasp the cultural norms here in America that, hey, for years, decades, we've understood that drinking and driving is bad. We've got billboards on every highway that says don't drink and drive. Okay, this is just cultural standards that they don't really understand and haven't really assimilated to. And that's why you see all of these illegals drinking and driving and getting convicted of drinking and driving, because it's not taboo in their countries to drink and drive. So anyway, this illegal alien, been deported multiple times, keeps border hopping, and then also is convicted of drinking and driving. So according to a letter sent yesterday to Duckworth's office, as exclusively reported by Fox News, ICE acting director Todd Lyons said that the staffer told federal agents he was an attorney of an illegal. The illegal's name is Jose Ishmael Yayazo Sandoval. Okay, he's 40 years old. The letter says that the staffer entered an ICE facility in St. Louis, Illinois on October 29th. At approximately 1:29 p.m. on October 9th, an individual identified as Edward York, who, according to publicly available information, is employed as a constituent outreach coordinator for your Senate office, Tammy. Okay, and he entered the field office lobby, the facility there in St. Louis, and he was having a discussion with the federal officer who's there, and he claimed to be Yazo Jose's attorney. Okay, this Edward York guy was claiming to be the illegal's attorney. So Mr. York demanded to speak to his client. The story gets worse. Okay, so while at the field office, York was not only allowed to meet with the illegal alien Jose, but he was also allowed or also secured the illegal's signature on a G-28 form. Okay, now this is an official document that authorizes an attorney to represent a client in immigration matters. Okay, this is a G-28 form, and it allows the attorney to receive official correspondence and communicate with government agencies like ICE on behalf of the client. Wow. So after obtaining a release order, however, the staffer attempted to file the form without Sandoval's signature. Okay. Despite having completed the G-28 form in person, according to the letter. So there was a release order, and he attempted to file the release order without the illegal immigrant's signature. And he did fill out this G-28 form to represent the guy. Okay, that's what the G-28 form is. And he filled that out in person at the facility, but he didn't get the signature on the release form. Okay, also according to the release form of the immigrant, of the illegal. Okay, so according to the letter, 4 days later, okay, the Suarez Law Office in Collinsville, Illinois, filed a G-28 electronically that did not have Mr. Sandoval's signature, even though Mr. York, who claimed to work for the law firm, had already obtained and signed the form. So this is odd. You've got another law firm, or this law firm, submitting it electronically, although you've already got Mr. York who did it in person. So there's something going on here, okay, because you've got two G-28 forms. You just need the one. It appears as if Mr. Edward York had collaborated with the firm, the law office in Collinsville, Illinois, to cover his misrepresentation. Okay, so He fills out this G28 form, but nothing really happens because the Mr. Sandoval didn't sign the release form. So he doesn't get out. So it looks like at this point, Edward York goes to this law firm and he kind of collaborates with this law firm and gets them to file a G28 form. So, yeah, you think? I think he's definitely collaborating here with the Collinsville, Illinois law firm, the Suarez Law Office, okay? So the important question is here, of course, did the staffer act on his own instruction, being that he's employed by Senator Duckworth's office, okay? Did he act on his own? Does he know this individual, personally? Is that why he tried to get him out? Or was he instructed by the Senator, Duckworth, to try to pull off this little stunt? He works for her, right? And I mean, we all know how eager the Democrats are to free the illegals. Duckworth has been consistently defending illegal aliens, primarily by ripping into federal immigration enforcement, lying about federal immigration enforcement officers, and she's been calling for oversight of law enforcement tactics against illegals for quite some time. Take a listen to this. This is Senator Duckworth. She was on Face the Nation about a month or so ago, and I still can't believe that she said this out loud on TV.
As I understand yesterday, ICE authorities shot a Chicago woman in the Brighton Park area. Secretary Noem claimed ICE fired defensive shots at this woman who was armed, who had appeared in a Border Patrol intelligence bulletin previously. She claims that federal agents were surrounded and were threatened. What are local authorities telling you about what they think happened here?
Well, they lie. Right? The Trump administration lies. We have a president who's a known liar, and they have been lying about the situation all along. And in fact, they even shot tear gas grenades, I think, at a reporter who was simply driving by with her window open. And so we're urging people, we're urging our protesters, remain calm, peaceful protests, exercise your First Amendment rights, but videotape everything. Everybody has a phone. Tape everything so we actually have real evidence of what is happening. We know the Trump administration lies consistently. And what I am hearing is that for the large part, people are being very quiet, are being very respectful, but ICE is being very aggressive. Remember that they are zip tying children. They are raiding apartment blocks in the middle of the night, separating children from their families, pulling people out onto the streets naked. They are using Gestapo tactics in Chicago. And this is what Trump wants to do, right? He wants to intimidate the people of Chicago. That's not going to happen.
Oh, wow. Okay. Absolutely incredible. I had to share that with you. I can't believe she said that out loud. Zip tying, dragging people out on the street naked. Where's the clips? Where's the evidence of that, man? Okay. Duckworth's goal here, clearly, and most of the Democrats' goals, most of the Democrat members of Congress, their goal is to shield as many illegal aliens as possible from capture and deportation, as many as they can get away with. Okay, that is their goal. And Lyons of ICE, the acting director, he said he's fed up with the political games. He also wrote this: I implore all members of U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate, as well as their staff, to stop the political games that put law enforcement and detainees at risk. Really, yeah. I mean, you're impersonating an attorney here. Okay. You're not an attorney. You know what I mean? And you're impersonating an immigration attorney and impersonating this guy's lawyer. You are going to screw over his proceedings. Okay. This guy, I think, has to be deported. He's been here 4 times, drinking and driving. That's my personal view on it. But say he should get a fair shot, well, there's already a deportation order. That's enough due process for me. I don't even know why these people get the immigration attorneys, but whatever. If he wants to argue his case, say he has a work visa and he, wants to argue his case to be here in the country, whatever. You're going to screw up his chances of doing that, man. If you impersonate his attorney and he's never going to get a chance to stay in the country if you illegally impersonate a lawyer and try to get him off. You know what I mean? And illegally take him from the facility. Okay. And it is my sincere hope that you advocate on behalf of your constituents. This is what Todd Lyons says. And he says, you advocate, or it is my sincere hope that you will advocate on behalf of your constituents who have been victimized by illegal alien crime and work with the DHS to remove these criminals from the United States. Good luck with that, Mr. Lyons. Some Democrat lawmakers, they might like nod and say, yeah, we have to, deport people who are criminal illegals, people who commit criminal acts on top of, coming into the country illegally. You might get some Democrats who nod and say, yeah, we should do that. But we've witnessed their actions. Okay. We've witnessed the opposite from their party. They do not want to represent their constituents. They don't want to advocate on behalf of their constituents who have fallen victim to these illegal immigrants and to the crime that they commit on top of entering the country illegally. And I suspect we're going to see more of this kind of stuff from Edward York, from other staffers of U.S. senators and congressmen. Duckworth's office did not immediately respond to Fox News' request for comment. Not very shocked by that. Shockingly, she did not respond. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. I gotta go, but I appreciate you being here. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Bye-bye. Love you so much. Catch you later.